I love the whole like top and bottom thing that it gets edited to. I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool for
It
the,
is.
you know.
All right, for those of you out there who are being amateur, CapCut, awesome. So we edit. Anyway, welcome to the Toast of the Weird, where 2025 started out. I'm not going to say it. I was going to say it, but I think it's insensitive. So 2025 is started. We are off to a year. What are we? 4 days into it? 5 days into it?
This is
Five
what I
days
have
into
to
it.
say to you personally, year 2025. The bar is pretty fucking low. Excuse me. The bar is pretty low for the last few years. Like, 2019?
No,
Anyone?
dude.
Thoughts?
No, dude. Like I've been trying to avoid it because of these situations, right? 2025 kicks off, and what does Hamas do? They go pew pew with a couple of rockets into Israel, and Israel goes, "Not on my watch." Boom, right?
What?
Yeah, you didn't
Natural
hear about
reaction.
that?
We both live under a rock sometimes. This is my natural
Mm-hmm.
reaction. What? No. Huh?
Yeah, dude. So
Jamie, pull the clip up.
remember that whole like we don't want to get sued for defamation thing? There's no Jamie.
Jamesy.
James,
You didn't. It was Jamesy, folks.
James is a really Jamie is a really common name.
Probably 15th on the list.
Hamas January 1st, 2025 attacks.
And again, too, like, is that suable? Because again, a lot of people just say the word like Rogan, and they're like, we all assume like, and he's not out there like some person named Rogan isn't out there, like destroying lives and stuff.
Right? Like don't come to us for
And on top of that, is there some sort of coattails clause? And again, too, as long as there's not defamation of character, there's not slander or libelous,
I know,
going
right?
on.
All right, so from the times of Israel, Israel World Ring In 2025 as Hamas fires rockets at midnight for the second straight year. No injuries in attack on Nevoit, pardon the pronunciation, New Year candle display in Tel Aviv urges hostages deal. Trump, Hamas had better let the hostages come back soon. Thousands party in Assad-free Syria. So like that's just a whole bunch of stuff that goes on. Israel and the world welcome the new year early Wednesday with celebrations and well wishes, though through festivities in the southern city of Nevoit and surrounding communities were interrupted at midnight when Hamas terror group fired rockets from the Gaza Strip. Hamas took responsibility for the fire, and the Israeli Defense Force said two rockets were launched from the central Gaza Strip, with one intercepted and the second one striking an open area. There were no injuries in the attack. So there's that on top of everything that happened stateside.
I have a question, and I don't know what kind of response it'll get.
All
This
right.
is legitimately not a question because it kind of comes out like an accusation. People will take questions as accusation. How come, and I want to know this militarily, how come they weren't able to strike down both of them? It seems like they'd be pretty
Oh,
amped for something like that.
from my limited
Uh-huh.
understanding of what is available out there and the perception of the reality that I have personally,
Go on.
and any other bases I need to cover that state that this is just my opinion and is not the actual response of Israel or the United States. Just my understanding, trying to digest the world that we live in today's current modern era. Any other legal disclaimers I got to put out there at the beginning of the video? This is all just my opinion.
This is for infotainment purposes only.
There it is. Be weird. WYRD. Control your own destiny and other things that we say at the top. So, from what I understand,
From your perception of the information of
it
reality.
is Israel has their Iron Dome defense,
Okay.
right? Which is rockets that shoot down other rockets. Pew pew.
Pew,
But
pew, pews.
yeah, but kind of like a magazine that has limited ammunition, and I don't know if we're going to get shadow banned for me talking about guns, but they only have so many rockets to shoot down other rockets that if it was to go to like an open area, they know it's going to hit like an
So,
open area, so they don't shoot it down. You know what I
so
mean?
one of those like targeted trajectory, you've got like six casualties for rocket A. Let's take that down. Rocket B is going to land in a empty field of grass. And they're honestly, they probably on the other side of that, they're like, yeah, let's let them hit us, kind of thing too. Because again, too, why would is that news or a
I have no
medical?
idea. That's the CIA, man. They know we're out here filming our podcast,
They're
man.
very interested. You guys need to make sure you like, subscribe, and share before we disappear, and then we become famous. And you could have been in on it.
We become famous because we disappear. That'd be the ultimate tragedy. Anyway, as you were saying,
It begs the question that they had the ability to, they didn't for whatever reason. Why would you allow that to happen anyway? Because again, it doesn't seem like one rocket for one rocket. Like they could have totally had that happen, like completely null
because
and void.
it was going nowhere. If it's not going to go anywhere, why flex? Like the Israel response to that was like 200 dead in Gaza or something.
So it's like you bombed an empty field and we killed 200 people. It just seems like a needless. I don't know. And again, this is questions because I am ignorant, willfully not, but knowingly
This
ignorant.
is this is like 25 minutes coming from Israel. They claim they killed 100 over 100 killed in Gaza Strip in the first 3 days of 2025. Hamas Run Health Ministry says that was a day ago from CBS News.
Hmm.
From Al Jazeera, Al Jazeera, I believe, I'm not totally accurate, is the Muslim side of news.
Hmm.
They were saying that
Okay.
over Israel forces killed 200 in 3 days in Gaza, overwhelming. And I'm going to check the date on this. The 5th of January 2025. Israel attacks have killed more than 200 Palestinians across Gaza over the last 3 days as the military continues to hit residential buildings, people gathering in the streets, marketplaces, and shelters.
Hmm.
So it's all that fear mongering we were talking about earlier today too. Like
Yeah.
nobody's talking about that stateside because we have our own stuff that's going down. There was 25 gunned down in New York on New Year's Eve. There was the
Know nothing about
bombing
that.
attack at the Trump Tower that went on, and there was another attack. The guy that ran over cars or ran over people, and I forgot what that one was. One the Trump Tower with the Cybertruck was in Las Vegas, and
Okay.
the other one was. Good Lord, no wonder people call me some talking Yahoo, because I don't know
What?
my
We've made
facts.
talking head status? Hold on. Hold on.
I'm
It is
just a talking
official.
Yahoo.
We are talking head status. Wow.
New Year's Day
That's
terrorist
that's a
attack,
big thing.
United States.
21 subscribers, thousands of views,
New Orleans. Sorry about
tens
that.
of
I
thousands,
apologize.
tens of thousands of
I
views.
apologize for that. That's like a drop in the bucket in today's society, though. Tens of thousands of people have watched us and swiped left.
That's awesome. Awesome. I am not concerned about the early days at the gym.
Yeah, this driver, the New Orleans driver, acted alone in an ISIS inspired rampage. I was mulling over this and I was thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, so basically, the dude throws up an ISIS flag. He's a former combat vet, as from what I understand. He's definitely a veteran. He's a former veteran, throws up an ISIS flag, and like starts running over people with a rented truck. Like, I get that people are out on New Year's Eve for a good time, and I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't have personal protection on you, but I'm just saying if someone throws up an ISIS flag and you have the right to carry in America in the town that you live in the city ordinance, and you have your CCW if you need it, and you have all your legal, I'm just gonna go on that like if you have all your legal stuff covered, but if you
Eminent
are a law
threat.
if
Eminent
you are a
threat.
law-abiding citizen with your own rights and you don't put a stop to some Yahoo doing that, shame on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand there's this whole like, but the police won't know who to shoot at once they arrive, but that by then it might be too late. 15 dead?
Really?
15 dead because they got ran over by this truck, by this idiot.
And again, questions, not even an opinion. It kind of seems like that would be a lack of training if you show
It's
up
all my opinion.
to a scene as an officer. And again, opinion, no knowledge, ignorant. willfully, not, but knowingly.
Yeah, well, I'm
Knowing who to shoot, or on top of that, instead of shooting first, aren't the whole put your weapons down,
yeah.
police and
Well,
you
they
know,
say that the military has more rules to engage than the police force does here in the States. So it's harder
really,
for one of our service members in a combat zone in war to pull the trigger than it is for a police officer roaming the states here,
that's
roaming the streets in
interesting.
the states here.
That's interesting. They've got more leeway on pulling a trigger stateside than a military
A police
officer
officer,
in
yes,
an actual war
a
zone.
police officer has more of, what is that called? Professional immunity, whatever it is.
That's good. Okay.
They have more professional immunity than a soldier does overseas in the war, which is why way back this was an argument to put more military in uniform as police officers.
Hmm.
And yeah, there's opinions and th things sway back and forth or whatever, but there was more of a an astute argument for that than just having people sign up for the police force because they, want to be a police officer or whatever. It was like a prerequisite to being a police officer was, go serve in the military. And I know police agencies all over will legitimately give any job to any military vet that wants to and qualifies for it. I'm not saying that they don't, but I'm just saying that if the military is trained in the rules of engagement, maybe our police forces should be trained in the rules of engagement, you know? It's a hard call. It's one of those situational things.
Here's my ignorant opinion with
Yes.
this stew
It's
of
all my
information that I'm
ignorant
eating.
opinion.
It kind of seems like it, from my information, and a lot of that kind of just seems like semantics because what percentage of our actual police force is ex-military anyway? A lot of
Hmm.
the SWAT team, from my understanding, a lot of those special units
Yep.
are usually ex-military.
Yep.
So, and again, I don't really see too much of a difference of being policed by the military and being policed by a militant police.
Yeah.
From the evolution of our stateside, police services, pictures of their combat scenarios and their uniforms and their equipment next to military is very hard to decipher depending on where you're looking at. Some
Hmm.
places,
Yeah.
and so why not have the same level of
Professionalism.
human respect, human, if
Hmm.
in a war zone, it's kind of like a lot of rules of engagement for political or for, human rights and stuff, in
Hmm.
those scenarios. I have no personal issues with walking down the street and seeing a soldier. Would not make any difference to me. I would not feel less American or less of anything than a police officer because to me, it is a militant police force that we have anyway, and that's not bad or good. I think
Yeah,
it,
it
comes
is.
with the times. There's certain things that comes with the
Hmm.
times, but again, I have no problem, and this would help solve a lot of the issues if you make it more appealing for a vet to join a force domestically afterwards.
Being the child of a veteran, I will just say this. There are a lot of veterans out there who experience war and
Hmm.
they do not want to do
Any of it
anything
afterwards.
afterwards. And I respect the hell out of that.
Again, that's choice, but again, too, I think it's the option again of like making it more advantageous.
Yeah,
Because again, with that, let's put this into another perspective for a PTSD suffering, person. There is a lot of in-office police work that needs to be done.
that's true too. That is
There's
true
a,
too.
and I would rather there be 10 vets sitting at the police office, than
Hmm.
them somewhere else. But again, that's scenarios and just,
Yeah,
whatever.
well, let's loop it back around to my original message.
Hmm.
If you have the right and the training and you do by chance happen to carry arms and you do not put a threat down to the American people around you, to the people around you,
Any people, yeah.
any people around you, then I think you're doing a disservice and you should just turn in your gun. I mean, firearm. Can't say gun. That'll be shadow
Which
banned,
I
ain't?
think I think a
Because we're
lot
not
of it
really a
should
gun channel.
go back down to like the Good Samaritan kind of clause. I can't remember which political figure. Apologies, folks, but there was one political figure. I think it was Pelosi, I believe,
I don't
who's
know what you're talking about, so continue.
our senator got The head injury from
Oh, no, no,
World
no,
War.
no. The one senator that was shot was Gabrielle Giffords,
Okay, okay,
and
okay.
the
Apologies.
person who assaulted her, I do believe, was
Was
put
down
down by
by
a
exactly
law-abiding
civilian.
citizen, but he wasn't killed. He was just brought down.
So either way, I don't mean this in a negative way, but luck of the shot, negative or
Hmm.
good, whether the person intended was lethal or not, just a good example of exactly what you're talking about.
Hmm.
Because of that political figure, there was probably not a lot of investigation on that person, probably not a lot of scrutiny from the police, like, oh, by the way, this person, this. So if that scenario was someone, hey, by
Hmm.
the way, they protected a mom and her daughter,
Hmm. Yeah,
hopefully that
but
person gets the same rights.
they were also in a city where open carry is the law. You know what I'm
Here, though,
saying?
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, I think is it New York? Is the state I believe that you're not to be able
New
to.
York
There's
and
no.
Chicago, they have limits to the firearms. Like, I'm not a gun expert,
Yeah.
I believe everybody has the right to bear arms, roar, whatever. But the city of Chicago and the city of New York have restrictions on firearms, but I don't live there, so I know that there's more gun crime in those areas because they have laws against guns, you
It,
know?
it goes back to the whole you're only allowing criminals to have weapons versus
Yeah.
someone. A lot of it boils down to situational scenarios, and
Hmm.
I think with that personally, it just one of those lists of the isms that I want to live in. The
Yeah.
social capitalism, where hey, by the way, you got your universal income, you got universal health care. Cool. You need your universal personal protection training. 100%. Like, is it is
Here's
it
your
isn't it
universal state allotment of ammo.
Yes, and is it? I know Israel had conscription. Like every citizen has to serve a
Yep.
certain number of
two
years,
years.
2 years. So again, everyone has got base training. So boom, ding, ding, exactly right there. Isn't it Canada the same thing maybe or
No,
no? Okay, there
I
was
don't
something
think
I
Canada
don't
has
think, but I
conscription
believe
laws.
there might be some other. There's got to be another country around that has something like that. That like everyone's got some sort of service that they have to do. Could have sworn it
Conscription laws around the globe.
wasn't just Israel. But again, perfect example. So I think that everyone should have that, kind of thing. It's like you should have, 2 years of medical, 2 years of, arms training, 2 years of this. Like, I think, again, yeah, state funded education. Absolutely.
Hmm. All right,
You know,
so Cape Verde, they have selective service for 2 years. Chad,
cool.
3 years for men. Cuba, 2 years for both genders.
Ooh.
Oh, forgive me. I've never heard about this country until right now. Eritrea, an indefinite period, usually up to 10 years for women and 15 years for men. I don't even know where that is. Israel.
There's almost 200 countries, 178 something by the
There's
UN. Again,
280 countries just in Africa, the continent of Africa alone.
really?
Yeah. Israel, 3 years for men and two
Y'all should
years
Google
for
this on your
women.
own.
Morocco is a year. Norway has selective service for 19 months. North Korea, we're just going to skip that country. Sweden has
Why? Oh, North
selective
Korea.
service for
How
11
many
months.
countries in the world? It's like 100 and some. Exactly. According to the United Nations, there are 195 recognized countries in the world with 193 members, two states and two non-members. Yeah, so it's around 200. I remember it was like 170
How many
something.
countries are in Africa?
And that also depends on what part of the
Oh,
timeline.
I was way wrong. There are 54
Yeah, I
countries
didn't
in
think it was that
Africa.
many. And no is one of the most
Yeah.
that was segmented up, so to say. Um, I think I can't remember what it was too, but certain countries don't exist depending on which timeline you're in.
Live recorded fact checking just for you in the comments section. We love you.
Even if you're talking trash, you're still sharing. Keep it coming.
Anyway,
Yeah. So anyway, so again, everyone should have like a certain mandated number of that. So again, too, like
to have that professional training.
yeah. So it's that movie scene where someone needs CPR. Everyone looks around like, is there a doctor in the house? It should be like someone looks around. They're like, I got the best CPR score. Like
But I mean, when was the last time you asked your doctor, so what was your GPA when you went to medical school and which medical school did you go to?
great point. Exactly. Yeah. Where did you finish in your class? Were you in the top
Yeah,
5%? Did you just barely like
D's get degrees. Were you doing more cake stands than library runs? Like what was going on? Nobody asked those questions. They're just like, "Oh, you're a doctor."
my knowing ignorance. So what college slogan is that from? D's get degrees.
That's from every college slogan.
Is it?
Like
I
that's
was gonna
from my
say
college
NAU
years.
or
Like,
whatever.
"Hey,
Yeah.
D's get degrees."
Some party town. Yeah.
Right?
It's the
Everybody
first I've
asks
ever
me
heard of it.
if I have a high school diploma. They don't ask me to provide my high school diploma. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't care.
Does that stuff show up on a background check?
I have no idea. I've
It's
never
like
been in a position to like,
it's like I know like background checks usually it goes off of like criminal records and stuff. But I was talking to someone, I'm like, I don't see the point, in this, etc. Like, you. Anyway, I'm not gonna finish the comment I was telling them, but I was like, why wouldn't you say this? And they're like, oh, well, they'll do a background check. And I'm like, I've never, ever heard of anyone calling up my high school and be like, did he graduate high school at this place at this time?
right?
Because who would the hell they would even talk to? I don't know.
The mega carriers, though, the mega carriers will verify your employment history too.
Mega
I
carriers?
know they do that.
Who?
The trucking companies,
Oh,
the
like,
mega
okay.
carriers, they verify your employment history because there's strict rules on driving hours for those that, choose to have the long haul
I've never had anyone,
lifestyle.
has anyone ever called you for a reference? That's all
Yeah.
I'm saying. For me?
Yeah, no, not
Okay,
for
not for me.
you,
Yeah, so I was like, I've
but
never
I've
had
had
anyone.
people claim to know me and work for me, and they like the business will call me up and be like, "Do you know who this guy is?" And I will sit there going, of all the millions of people I've met in my life, I'm supposed to remember this one person?
I've had some reference calls, but it's been from like the State Department, from the Sheriff's Department, and then a couple other military
Hmm.
organizations, people going up in their school or whatever, but I've been used for reference. But that I can absolutely see was like for clearance and certain jobs, but
Hmm.
they weren't calling me to be like, were you his high school teacher? Did he graduate? Like who? And this is a real
Did
question.
he do math
Where
problems?
would you verify that? Does it show up somewhere when you look up my digital record that I graduated? Like, is that, I'm serious. Is that something that someone, who the
Maybe,
fuck would verify that? Like, who would sit there on a list of stuff and be like, let me make sure that Johnny went to high school,
maybe.
in whatever, and he actually graduated. It just kind of seems like
Hmm.
one of those like, oh, well, you admitted to smoking the wrong thing, so now we got to test you for the rest of your life.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, but you can bet your sweet tush that there's somebody out there going, did this guy really graduate from Cambridge Medical School
Well,
or
I think it's
Cambridge
just
Law? You
the
know,
depending on, and on top of that too, it's the professional fallacy. You would think at those levels you would get more scrutiny, but but again too, their probably thought is who would make this up, right?
somebody somewhere probably has.
And again too, like if you walk the walk or if you can talk the talk and you're walking the walk, you must have been there before.
Hmm.
So again, it's a real thing. Look it up. The more professional someone looks, the more you trust them right off
Yeah,
the
the
bat.
professional fallacy, as you
Yeah,
said.
because
That's
it
just what
suits. Or gets me
it's
from
one of those
suits. Who did
things
that?
too.
Yeah.
Like you can get any in anywhere if you have a high vis jacket and a ladder. You can get in anywhere.
It's true. I don't question people at all. Some 20-some-year-old kid walks in, say they got to work on whatever. I'm like, awesome. No one ever tells me about anything anyway. Go for it,
As
bro.
a
Hook
dude
up
who
your.
usually wears a high vis vest and carries a ladder professionally, yeah, dude, nobody questions nothing about that. They're like, "You're gonna do what?" Yeah, I just gotta do the thing real quick.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen those videos too? Oh my gosh, there's videos out there of people going, um, something they're making something up like, "Hey, I'm not important. I'm with you know, not video industries. Is can I see here? Can I see here? No, can I see is not here. All right, can I see myself in? Yeah." And they let themselves in, dude. Do you want to kill an hour or two? Watch that dude's videos. This dude's getting into like all kinds of different places, just making up stuff. So security guards, scrutinize more and be better.
uh, everyone question anyone who comes around. Questioning's not challenging, and trust is not the same thing as proof.
This is yeah, that's true. I just make a call to his supervisor somewhere, just being like, "Hey, is this true?" You know?
Oh, you know what? That's really funny. Reminds me. That reminds me. I've been a victim of something like this.
Oh yeah.
The the complex I lived in, the duplex that I
Uh-huh.
lived over on the street before, 100% true. This gentleman shows up with the normal looking work truck with a ladder with a piece of paper on my knocked on my, or he wasn't even on there. He was on my roof. I come out and he shows me some work order, some generic thing. It says, "Oh yeah, they had me come. They want me to replace your swamp cooler." I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Did he take your swamp cooler and leave?
2 days later, I call the people who run the complex, and I'm like, "Hey, where's my swamp cooler?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "You guys had a maintenance man come take my thing." And and they're like, "What?" And they sure shit showed up, and they're like, "What?" And they started questioning me. I'm like, "Well, why didn't you ask him?" I'm like, "What? I'm not gonna question somebody and ask for a badge, and like, who would do that?
Know your
Who would
tenant
do that?"
rights. Know your tenant rights. You're supposed to have X amount of notice before anybody does any work on your rented space. Know your rights first of all, and I get it.
48, 72 hours or
Some
something. Yeah.
whatever it is due to the municipality, it's different everywhere. Whatever that is, it's like get that notice. And if somebody shows up like, "Hey, don't let them do anything. Don't let them do anything. Just be like, get out of here."
I
No.
thought it was hilarious afterwards, as I was like just laughing, and they're like trying to hold me accountable, and I was like, I don't. Some guy showed up and wanted to remove something off the house and said he was with you guys, had a work order, and like even when you get a notification, like let's just say that person was cruising around and say like, oh, they see a 48 to 72 hour notice on some work thing, like, oh, excellent, cool. Let's pop in at 47 hours before the crew comes in. I'm serious, right? Think about that. Think about that.
They
If
show up
they
at
had half
8
a brain,
instead of 9.
yeah, cool. Hey, we're here to replace your fridge.
All
If
right.
it's broken, it's not. Oh, the company's having us do all of them
Yeah, we're just removing them, and then there'll be another crew coming by.
behind us. Oh,
Yeah,
and the
dude.
guy just comes to check to make sure it's still working. They're like, wait, where? Who took what? Exactly. So I'll
All
give you
right.
another prime example. This is from work. True story. Different division, so I only have limited information. You know,
Okay.
we get a lot
Yeah.
of scams, a lot of stuff. People showed up to our work in a lottery uniform with lottery badges and said they had to remove the machine from the store. Guess how long it took for anybody to notice that the machine got lifted up and removed from the store?
A week.
Until the lottery department, whoever called or showed up and be like, why aren't you selling lottery? And that takes a
Oh, no
long time for those
kidding.
numbers to roll through. Yeah. And then they're like, we're waiting for you guys to return the machine. They're like, wait, what do you mean return the machine? So they had on video these people, no mask, no nothing. This is before COVID.
So they
Rolled in
just
with a tow
showed up
truck
and
with clipboard and badges and a shirt that said lottery on it. Like, hey, we're here to remove your machine. And they're like, here you go. And sat there for however many
oh,
hours and removed the machine,
you know
and
what?
no one questioned it.
With stories like this, we tell the companies to get better, but it's one of those like uh escalations. What are those? Like the escalation of war. Like you bring fists, I bring a knife. I bring a knife, you bring a pistol. You bring a pistol, I bring an assault rifle. You bring an assault rifle, I get a tank. You get a tank, I get rockets. It's that escalation thing. So if we tell people like this is what's going on and these scams are scamming and all that stuff, and the scammers they just get better,
Oh
you
no,
know,
you want to know the only surefire way of not being scammed?
it's not talking to people.
Is to not treat anyone like a customer. Yeah, there's absolutely no way to not eventually be scammed by
That's
somebody.
true.
It's gonna happen. It's period.
That's true.
There are professionals, and I don't just mean people who do it for a job. I mean people who do it as a profession. Like,
Yeah,
hey, I could have been a lawyer or a surgeon, and I chose to be this instead.
I chose to be a scammer, a
Yeah,
con
like
man.
there are some really good scams. I've heard
There's
some people, and I'm like, man, if I didn't know my shit, you would have got me.
there was a con man out there who is like telling everybody, "Yeah, I got arrested. This is what I did. You know, I've already been found guilty. So here's what I've been doing." You know, he's talking about mortgage scams and all that stuff on YouTube. It's amazing. It's I definitely recommend it. Definitely recommend it. All right.
I
So
went down that rabbit hole. I'm
yeah.
gonna throw some information out there for you folks to look into. There is a legal way to steal someone's property. I can't remember the entire steps, but if you go down some whatever office with like some copy of something and get them to stamp it, you can walk up to the place and like, get out of my house. Like we own our place and this
That's
person
crazy.
performed this scam at whatever office down here, they could walk up and be like, hey, you're living in my home. And the courts or whoever government would come in and be like, hey, we know this is fraudulent, but
You got to move.
yeah, like that's exactly what the person, and that's how they found out about it. They're like, it happened to me or something. And I was like, what? And they're like, there's nothing anyone can do. Once this jackass stamps it, it's done.
At what point? At what point do they tell us these things and then like patch the sinking ship too?
There
You
is,
know?
again, a lot of what it is just being that person who fades out in the background. You only aren't a victim of it because you haven't been a victim of it.
Mm,
That's it. Like, I don't have to worry about identity theft. No one's come after your shit yet. That's all it
yeah,
is. Or you
that is
don't know
true.
the degree someone has your information. Because
Mm.
even if you think about it, hey, oh, you're standing in line at whatever grocery store. Cool. What's your phone number? It's like giving out your social security number 50
It's
years
that
ago.
what is that? Social engineering versus hacking. 90% of hacking victims are just social victims of social engineering.
What do you mean?
Like, oh hey,
Elaborate. Yeah.
hey Bob, I see that you work at this corporation. How you doing? Blah 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 blah. Conversation, building trust, all that kind of stuff. Like, all
Hmm.
right, Bob. Hey, it's getting close to after hours. What phone number can I get for you for an after hours call? Oh, that's your personal number. Thank you. It's just shit like that.
Exactly. So they've talked to you. They have all this
They
information
talk to
about
you, they
you.
build rapport, and you never know. Like,
You
it's a
never.
shady world out there. Welcome 2025.
You'd
You
be
know?
surprised what you can do with the last four digits of someone's social security number, their first last name, their birthday, and
Mm-hmm.
their phone number, which
Mm-hmm.
is all relatively easy information if you pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'd be surprised. I would not believe the amount of people who stand there and look at me and I'm like, cool, enter your pen. They're like 5, 6. I'm like, stop. They
Don't
literally are
say that out
telling
loud.
me yeah, exactly. Don't say that out loud. And how many people I show my RFID blocking wallet to?
Yeah,
And I
this.
was like, I can get that. You see that register, that kiosk you just used, sir? I was like, I can get a portable one and like walk up and be like, tap, thank
Yep.
you.
Yep. The ethical hacker talks about that stuff too, with the flipper zero,
Is
the
that
flipper
super
zeros.
skinny,
Nerdy looking dude. Mm-hmm.
well spoken, very like
Self-taught.
mannered, like